Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hello, and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. We have another great show for you tonight. Mr. Tim Pate is over here, ready to jump in with some musical accompaniment. Howdy, Tim.
am.
And we have a few hemp news stories. We have some film clips and a few bottles back from our bottle collection to show here on the air. But without further ado, let's bring on our infamous dancing cannabis leaves.
I feel the force.
All right, tonight's first hemp news story comes out of New Jersey. New Jersey Senate lawmakers will hold a hearing next Thursday to debate whether to repeal regulations regarding the implementation of New Jersey's Compassionate Medical Marijuana Act. Members of the New Jersey Senate Health Committee will also decide on a resolution affirming that a proposal by the State Board of Medical Examiners to mandate that New Jersey doctors wean their patients off of medical marijuana every 3 months violates the legislative intent of the law. Last December, Senate lawmakers voted in favor of a concurrent resolution urging the New Jersey Department of Health and Senior Services to revise draft regulations regarding the implementation of the New Jersey Compassionate Medical Marijuana Act. The department had 30 days to rewrite the regulations but failed to do so. Lawmakers initially approved medical marijuana legalization 1 year ago, but to date, no rules for the new law have been implemented. From Los Angeles, California, last month in December 2010, a Los Angeles County Superior Court judge granted a preliminary injunction barring local officials from taking legal action against hundreds of medical marijuana and cannabis facilities presently operating within the city of Los Angeles. The decision finds that the city's 6-month-old ordinance seeking to curtail the number of dispensaries operating in LA is unconstitutional. It states that the ordinance, quote, violated the due process rights of the dispensaries because it shut them down without a hearing and the privacy rights of patients because it required dispensaries to make records on members available to the police, end quote, according to the Los Angeles Times. Members of Los Angeles City Council will most likely attempt to rewrite the ordinance in a manner that complies with the ruling, the Los Angeles Times reported further. Since the enactment of the LA ordinance in June, over 40 lawsuits have been filed challenging the constitutionality of the measure. Our last story tonight is out of Orangeburg, New York. The administration of oral synthetic THC is associated with improved symptoms of psychosis in patients with refractory schizophrenia, according to findings of 4 case reports published in the November issue of the Journal of Clinical Psychiatry. Investigators at the Rockland Psychiatric Center in Orangeburg, New York, the Columbia University Medical Center, and the New York University School of Medicine assessed the efficacy of oral THC, or Dronabinol, on 8 patients with refractory psychosis. The subjects in the trial had a history of symptomatic improvement when using cannabis and had been unresponsive to conventional medical treatments. The researchers reported significant improvement in 4 of the 8 patients after oral THC treatment. In particular, the authors reported that cannabinoid administration produced a significant reduction in the subject's aggressive tendencies. No patients in the study experienced any significant adverse effects from THC. Quote, it appears that a predisposed subset of patients with schizophrenia may actually improve with cannabinoid stimulation, end quote, the investigators concluded. The team had previously reported positive results with oral cannabinoid therapy in 4 of 6 patients with chronic refractory schizophrenia. In March, investigators at Edmundston Hospital in New Brunswick, Canada, reported that male patients diagnosed with schizophrenia obtained subjective benefits from inhaling cannabis. The survey data, published in 2008 in the International Journal of Mental Health Nursing, also reported that schizophrenic patients obtained subjective relief from cannabis, finding that subjects consumed cannabis to reduce anxiety, mitigate memories of childhood trauma, enhance cognition, and, quote, improve their mental state, end quote. The full text of this study, named The Improvement in Refractory Psychosis with Dronabinol, 4 case reports, appears in the Journal of Clinical Psychiatry. That's the end of our Hemp News segment tonight. We'll go over to Mr. Tim Pate. How are you doing, Tim?
I'm good, Paul, and you?
Very well, very well.
I want to think I'm thinking about that word subjective in that last report. When they think of that as...
Well, that's what they report. Subjective is... as opposed to objective. There's really clear, terms and a diagnosis strategy in medical treatment plans. And the first thing they do is they report the subjective results, and that's what the patient says. The next thing they do is they have the objective report. That's what the physician sees. Then they have an assessment, and then the plan on how to treatment. And that's the typical treatment plan in medical diagnostic facilities.
Cool. It didn't sound very subjective to the patients, though. They sounded like they were happy they got the medicine.
Sound like it helped. Now, I know that in some schizophrenic cases, it actually has negative effects.
That's
in
what
about
I do too. I know that.
Or what is it? About 10% of schizophrenic. So about 1% of the population has some tendencies towards schizophrenia, and 1 out of 10 of those might be predisposed to having a negative psychopathic episode.
Right, so it's not for everyone.
No, it isn't. That 1 out of 1,000 people who might not know it might trip off a psychotic episode.
True. Well, and then they need to be aware. We need to be aware. It comes up. It does. It definitely does. But it's the more and more evidence that comes out there, the better off I think our future is with the positive response that we continue to get, and all of the reports about the medical efficacy of this. I continue to be impressed. I just do. I continue to be impressed.
It really is amazing.
Anyway, this one's tonight for a friend of ours who is very ill, and so this song goes out to Bobby B, who I know listens to the show, and want to send our love to him tonight.
All right. Mr. Tim Pate.
Thank
on
you.
Guitar, and shortly to be here on our panel here. If you have a question for us tonight, give us a call at that number right there on your screen. It's 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448. We'll be taking your calls right up to the top of the hour. And I'd like to now welcome Tim, who's jumped over here.
I'm here.
To be on the set.
Good to be with you. It is.
So
you got some pretties out here. Tell us about
there are
this.
a few bottles here. Let's see if we can get camera 2 to close in on them. I think probably the most interesting one is right in the middle, but we'll start right with this one on the end. This is a corn remedy. In fact, there are a lot of corn remedies out there, even from Johnson & Johnson and other major pharmaceutical
Bad socks
companies.
back then, bad socks.
This is from Janes & Company out of, where does it say they're from? New York, and New Jersey. So it was a bottle full. What you did is you put drops of this on the corn, and then you'd wait about 3 days, and then it would just come right off. You'd scratch it, and it would come off, which is a good thing. And then this is chlorodyne. Chlorodyne was a pretty common compound for neuralgic pain and pain. This one has morphine, cannabis, and a few other things there. Peppermint oil, hydrocamps. In fact, there's about 3 of them like this that are like chlorodyne. They don't say chlorodyne. This is a pretty nifty little bottle from the Independent Pharmaceutical Company of Worcester, Massachusetts.
How old would you say those are?
How
old are those?
This one's like 1890, and it's got a nifty little poison triangle on the side, and it has embossed letters on the back, IP for the Independent Pharmaceutical Company. The IP company, it says there, you can see. And this next one is definitely the most interesting. It's the first one like this that I got. This is the only one I ever attempted to open, and when I did, I broke part of the cork off, and I said, I'm never going to try to open another one of these again. But this one's really fascinating. It's powdered extract of Indian cannabis. It's from what company here? Park Davis, one of the major companies that's still in. And if you look at it, it's about half full.
Yes.
Here in the back, and that is powdered keef, or the trichromes off the flowers of cannabis.
From
so this is about 120
ago.
years old. That means it's no good in terms of, and Park Davis had about 7 different cannabis compounds, and 4 of them were pure cannabis extracts, and this is one of those. It's cannabis indica. It's always nifty to read what it says on here. Of course, it's in microscopic print, but it says, I'm not even going to try to read.
Okay.
It's too small.
All
Too
right.
small. This next one is also from Park Davis, and this is a neuralgic pain medicine with opium and cannabis. So this one has morphine and cannabis. This one has opium and cannabis, and it has the Park Davis embossment on the bottom of the bottle. Is this no, it doesn't have it. And so, and this last one is from Shefflin. It's got the cork on it that is patented like the Shefflin Company of New York. Again, it's a neuralgic pain compound with cannabis and opium. 100 soluble pills. Number 297, it says there. So pretty nifty little bottles. But I think the one with the powdered keef is probably the most interesting. And I have about half dozen of those now that are like that, and about half of them, 3 or 4 of them, have contents. One of them's full, never been opened, and so
nice.
Pretty interesting little containers.
Nice.
If you have a question for us tonight, you can call us at 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448. And we'll be taking questions right up to the top of the hour, about another 40 or 45 minutes here. So the most interesting developments this week in the world of cannabis.
Let's talk. There were quite a few, actually, when you think about it.
Yeah, well, there's a big article in the Willamette Week here in Portland that talked about the burgeoning dispensary
market. You were quoted in
market.
that article, too, by the way.
I had a little quote in there. Basically, it's happening in Oregon a lot more slowly than it is in the rest of the country, primarily because Oregon's medical marijuana law has a clause in there that says caregivers and growers can't be compensated for their labor and their time. And so, unlike any other state, Oregon has this clause in there that makes it questionable about the existence of some of these dispensaries.
Right.
And the
It's true.
scuttlebutt I have heard feedback from at least the prosecutor in Multnomah County is that this article is probably going to prompt some investigations.
Wouldn't surprise
And
me in the least.
so, yeah, we've seen they had a list of about 15 or 20 different dispensaries all across the state, including about 4 or 5 here in the Portland area.
Well, there's a need.
Yeah,
There's a
there
need,
is,
or
there
they
is.
wouldn't be there.
Patients, I would say, more than half the patients, more than half the time, cannot access cannabis.
I know.
And that means the law isn't working, so something needs to be done to resolve it. And I'm told from our state representatives that there is a feeling that that's the case, that something has to change in the state legislature. And so there is several groups have produced legislation, several medical marijuana bills. We'll be reporting on those more fully.
That's right.
In the coming weeks. But I know Representative Schaffler in the Oregon House has introduced a bill and is a friendly legislator on our side, and so is Peter Buckley.
Yes.
From down in Southern Oregon. And so, but it's not just happening in Oregon, it's happening in every single state where we have the medical marijuana law. There's just a move by the legislatures, especially in Montana,
Right.
but also in Colorado and California and Rhode Island, and we talked a little bit about in New Jersey how they're still grappling with their law there.
Right. They are.
So if you are a medical marijuana patient in any of the medical marijuana states out there, or if you're an activist that thinks that patients should have access to medical marijuana, then you should probably get very involved in the political process right now if you want to the legislature to come out with anything that helps our community. And so that's a important move to take there. And so there you
Something
go.
you have to remember. It's
Yeah.
if activism happens on a local level.
right.
You
And
know,
a
if
letter
you want to
goes a
affect
long
change,
way.
you have to do it that way.
And if you can say who you are, that goes a long way. I know I heard from one representative that they were getting a lot of anonymous comments and people who didn't want to give their name for some fear of reprisal
Right.
or fear of being too public in this market. But obviously, the folks that came out there in Willamette Week, they were very, very public about what they're doing.
Well,
I know
they
the
were
one that
bold
they
about what they were
focused on the
saying. Yes.
cover
Yes.
was Stony Girl Gardens. We've had Stony Girl on this show. It's been a number of years right
Yeah.
now, but she's been on here a couple of occasions. And so her kind of franchise idea, she says she's got 4 dispensaries now and it's opening 4 more or more this year, I think it is. So that's
They said they
definitely
wanted
pushing.
to open 40.
40, that was it, 40.
Well,
4
we'll
to
see if
40.
that happens.
Yeah.
I mean, if that happens,
Well,
more
the
power
demand
to
is
them.
out there. I know.
Exactly.
We
There
have
is.
clinics all across the country, and I've seen just in the small city of Spokane, about 130,000 people. They've gone from 2 dispensaries to 40 dispensaries
Exactly.
just inside the last 6 or 8 months.
No, the real solution is legalizing.
Right,
And we've made progress on that step, too.
that's true. Back on January 4th, a mere week and a half ago, we filed 2,200 signatures with the Oregon Secretary of State Elections Division to start the petition process to legalize marijuana here in the state of Oregon, with a vote coming up in November of 2012. So we started the process and need to gather about 140,000 more signatures to guarantee a vote. We have until July 2012, plenty of time to gather those signatures, regardless of how long it takes to generate the ballot title process. So we're pretty confident that the state of Oregon is going to be voting on completely legalizing marijuana, and I particularly think it's the best bill out there. Of course, I'm biased because I helped write it.
That's okay.
And so we'll talk more about that in just a minute, but we do have a phone call. Welcome to our show, caller. Hello, caller.
Good evening, gentlemen. How are you doing?
Very good.
Very well. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing just great. I'm a new card holder by about 2 months, and
Congratulations.
And I'm sorry because something's wrong, or you wouldn't have got your card.
I haven't gotten the card yet.
That takes about 2 months to get.
You'll get it soon enough.
Oh, one guy said he got his in 2 weeks, so I don't know. One of my comments was, I believe it was last Sunday, on the History Channel, there was 2 hours on cannabis, and that was very, very interesting to watch. Enjoyed it. It went into a lot of technical stuff, and it was very, very informative. Right now, people that know that I'm a patient now, and I need my medication, everybody's hitting me up to be a provider, and I'm just, I'm new at this, so I took the first provider because I kind of know him. So if it doesn't work out,
that's the best. If it's someone you know and trust, then that's the the best relationship you can have. If you can't grow it yourself, of course, that's even better. If you can grow it yourself, then you have control over your medicine and its supply, and there's a learning curve to learn how to do that. But there's a lot of expense involved, a lot of time, and I would say 75% of the patients or more are just not in a position to do that, either physically or economically.
Yeah, I agree with you. Another question I had, I guess this should be the last one. Didn't they have 2 dispensaries in Northeast Portland that you could go and purchase your
there are
medication?
several, and if you want a list of them, you can go to this week's free Willamette Week magazine. If you're here in Portland, you can pick that up on any place where they have a Willamette Week box, or in many stores, restaurants, and coffee shops. And they have a list of them statewide, everywhere from Coos Bay and Medford to...
Are they on the back page?
No, it's inside the magazine. There's an article. You'll notice a couple of people from Stony Girl Gardens, including Stony Girl and her husband, Mike, on the cover of this week's Willamette Week, and just open up that article. Or if you go to their internet website, you can find out more about it. It's wweek.com.
I heard there was 2 of them. One of them is still where they're supposed to be at, and the other one had to move, but it didn't tell where they moved to. They just said that they relocated. So
yeah. Well, they're out there. They're pretty easy to find. Just pick up a copy of Willamette Week, and you'll see a map.
Okay, sure will do. And I'm really glad that they have this service for people that need medical marijuana for whatever chronic pain they're going through.
It really is useful for the people who need it. Because
don't forget to tell your legislature that.
Yeah, if you have...
And now's the time to do that, really.
Yeah, contact our Oregon state representatives and let them know that you'd like to see a regulated market that is patient-friendly. And look at the legislation that's out there, because there are a lot of groups, including some law enforcement lobbyists, that really want to curtail those. And like I mentioned a moment ago, some of the prosecutors in our city are considering investigating them and potentially charging them with violating the law. So we need to protect them in the state legislature, and we can do that by contacting our representatives in Salem. Here in Oregon, if you're in Washington, Senator Jean Cole Wells has introduced a bill up in Washington to both to regulate dispensaries as well, and there's another bill that's been introduced by another state senator to completely legalize marijuana. There are lots of moves in the state capital of Montana, in Helena, to curtail the medical marijuana program there. So we need to get active, especially right now, and let our legislators know that we want to see medical marijuana dispensaries or compassion centers or access points, whatever you want to call them, legal and available for medical marijuana patients.
So, where do I get the addresses for these dispensaries? Do you have them, or do I call them?
I don't have them. Just pick up a copy of Willamette Week magazine. There's a good article in this week's magazine. They're free. They're all over town. An article written by Mr. James Pitkin, who's been writing articles in Willamette Week for a number of years. So you can find it out there. Thanks for your call.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. If you have a question for us tonight, give us a call at 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448. And so, yeah, there's a lot of interest about that. I've been asked for many different addresses out here. I don't know if that's our point. You know, cable access is a non-commercial service, and so we can't be out here specifically, you know, pushing any particular product or brand or anything. You know, we've got these 120-year-old bottles.
But you know,
yeah, and on occasion we might give an address.
Now there's enough of them that
Yeah.
you have to decide. Well, you know, they become businesses.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what's also prompting you know, a hard look from the legal
Out of Southern
circles.
Oregon,
Makes
there's
sense.
this magazine, Cannabis publication that lists over 20 dispensaries throughout the state.
Right.
So, but this article in this week's Willamette Week is particularly useful for that.
That's helpful.
You know, we have these antique medicines here showing the ancient history of cannabis as a medical substance. If you are someone you love, you think would qualify for medical marijuana, then we have doctors all over the country who are ready, willing, and able to help you. If you need a doctor referral, you can call us at 503-235-4606. That's 503-235-4606. If you're outside the Portland, Oregon area, you can call us at our toll-free number, 1-800-723-0188. That's 1-800-723-0188. And we have machines there that can answer your questions. Well, that can't answer your questions, but can take your message and then call you back. We have another caller. Welcome to our show, caller.
Hey, thank you.
You bet.
Howdy.
Hi. My question is, well, first place, love your show. I've been a card holder for, about 7 or 8 years now, and it's really helps me with my health. I couldn't live without it, really, as far as keeping my medicine down and keep my weight on and all that stuff. And my question is, in the state of Oregon, you can't smoke in a motel room, can't smoke cigarettes in a hotel room or inside of a public building. Well, if I'm in a hotel room, supposedly I have some sort of legal rights as far as renting it while I'm in the room. Can I smoke marijuana while I'm in the hotel room?
Well, you know, most hotel rooms have you initial something that says you will not smoke in their room. Of course, it does. Their wording varies.
Generally, when I've initialed those, I look and it refers, or it looks like tobacco is what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so,
well, I know in Montana, for instance, and other states that have medical marijuana, they're thinking of amending their indoor smoking laws to include marijuana, so they can't enforce those laws if they specifically say tobacco. However, that doesn't mean that the hotel can't charge you whatever fee or fine. You know, I know there's been anywhere from $100 to $250 fine charged for deep cleaning or something like that by some hotels. And I must admit, even when I haven't smoked in rooms, just using my vaporizer on more than one occasion, I've had to pay that that fine.
Oh boy, okay. Cigarette smoke, it hangs in the room, and I can understand not wanting to clean that out of the curtains and so forth.
Sure.
But you just open a window, and next thing you know, you can hardly smell anything. So it's not like it sticks in the room, but I can see that the
it does to some extent. You can't smell it as well when you've been smoking it.
I suppose that's probably true.
When you haven't been smoking it, it can stay in there for an hour or more.
It depends on who's
However,
walking by,
vaporizers go away much more quickly, because it isn't smoke. And I know, like with my vaporizer, it just fills a bag, and I inhale it out of the bag, so there's nothing going directly out.
Right.
Has the vaporizer ever kicked off a fire alarm?
Yes, I've had the vaporizer kick off a fire alarm on several occasions, sometimes with one bag. In fact, I had it happen on my birthday last summer at the Paradise Lodge up on the slopes of Mount Rainier. The alarm just went right off on the first bag. It wasn't
not fair. Not fair.
Well, you learn pretty quick.
Yeah,
I'm going to learn how to
question.
disconnect these things. And
I'm sorry. Would you repeat that?
I'm sorry. You just took the second question right out of my mouth.
yeah.
Can I set off the smoke alarm? Would be my next question. Oh.
Yeah.
Yes, I've had that happen and in the past, before there were indoor smoking laws, in things like national normal conventions in Washington, D.C. or down in San Francisco, there'd be like 20 of us in a room and set off the smoke alarm, you know.
Right. Oh boy.
But
Okay.
nowadays they're set to a much more sensitive alarm setting, so you have to be careful. And like I said, I've seen them go off with basically nothing.
Well,
in a couple of occasions.
At this last convention,
I think I probably had that happen a dozen times.
You know, at that bash that you went to back in
at the KushCon in Denver.
That's it.
And at the Normal Conference in Los Angeles and in San Francisco, they actually designate floors to cannabis use. So
Seattle Hemp Fest is the same way. We take over the Embarcadero. And 8 or 9 other hotels. There's not a single room available once we're there. So if you go into Seattle Hemp Fest, get your room. But we take those places over, and they appreciate our money very much.
Absolutely. Okay, well, thank you very much. It sounds like there's a couple of states that are bantering around actual amendments to laws to actually allow this to happen.
Yeah, there's one fellow in Montana that's been kind of very obnoxious with kind of maliciously and smoking marijuana in public places, and so the state of Montana is particularly looking at that right now.
Sure, because if I'm in a hotel room at the Motel 6 or whatever where I'm at, so if I decide to respect their no smoking thing, then I'm standing out on the street corner smoking it.
right, and then you're not, it's best in that case, I think, to. There's this stuff out there called Ozium that'll cover up those kinds of smells, and it's the stuff they spray in bathrooms, to cover up the
different various, fill a toilet paper tube full of bounce dryer sheets and blow through that. There's lots of different tricks out there.
That's true. That's true.
Okay, well, thank you for your time, guys, and I love your show.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
You know what? We have a film clip we're going to roll, and we'll be back in just a moment to take more questions and calls. If you have a question or call, you can call us. 503-288-4448. We'll be taking your calls for about another 20 minutes or so. So here's our film clip.
Anybody hungry?
Hey, how about we order some Chinese?
Order some Chinese to do what?
Federal Bureau of Narcotics, please hold. Federal Bureau of Narcotics, please hold. Federal Bureau of Narcotics, please hold.
The new head of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, Henry Giordano, began to realize he had a problem. To address it, he developed a campaign he hoped would be believable to the younger generation. If you smoke marijuana, you will become an unmotivated, dysfunctional loser.
Family's on a bummer now, and nobody knows where she's at. She could be almost anywhere. Maybe someday she'll be. She started smoking pot.
If you become a pothead, you risk blowing the most important time of your life, your teenage. That unrepeatable time for you to grow up and to prepare for being an adult that can handle problems and make something meaningful out of life. Or you have the choice to have the courage to see and deal with the world for what it really is. Far, far from perfect, but for you and for me, the only one there.
Because so many were trying marijuana without any ill effects, the public demanded to know more. And for the first time, the federal government approved scientific testing.
The plain fact is that none of us know very much about this drug in any verifiable way. Well, Bill, it's been about 2 hours since you got the drug. How do you feel?
Fantastic. Defiant? Not at all. Business-like? Not at all. Sheesh. Friendly? Extreme. They sound ridiculous.
Would you be interested in taking part in a study like this again and having the same type of drug?
Sure.
You would. It's been a very pleasant experience for you.
I'll do it anytime you want.
Do you think it would be...
Any time at all.
Do you think
Just
it would be...
call me. Any time of the day or night.
And we found out that the drug makes people happy, it makes them intoxicated, and finally makes them sleepy, which is about what marijuana users were telling us happened all the time.
Hey, last call, folks. Drink it up. Oh, it's nice to see you, Bob. How's the wife, huh? Kids are okay? Good. That's right. Let's drink to tomorrow. Hell, let's drink to tonight. Hell, let's drink.
It says right here that alcohol does more harm to your nervous system.
Stop reading that underground trash and pay more attention to your homework.
All that drivel they talk.
We don't smoke marijuana in Muskogee. We don't take our trips on LSD.
Whether the younger generation was presented as drugged-out hippies or anti-war protesters, conservative America reacted with a fear and hatred that threatened to pull the country apart.
Being free. I'm proud to be a from Muskogee. Place where even squares can have a ball. We still wave old glory.
This is Fire Support Base Aries, 50 miles northeast of Saigon. Vito is a 20-year-old draftee from Philadelphia. A photographer before he entered the Army, Vito is now a squad leader, responsible for the lives of a dozen men.
All right, well, that was Ron Mann's film Grass.
Yes.
Grass was produced about 7 or 8 years ago, and the narrator is Woody Harrelson, a big hemp supporter, and I've been a guest at his house in Beverly Hills. And
I've had the pleasure of meeting him several times myself.
I was with him on June 1st, 1996, when he planted 4 hemp seeds.
Oh, that's right.
Outside
Yes.
Louisville, Kentucky, in Lee County. He was eventually acquitted with a jury trial, and they acquitted him that way.
He was very happy about that, too, because he didn't know which way that was going to go.
Well, yeah, he would have appealed it one way or the other.
Still.
But yeah, it's always a really good thing to be acquitted.
It
I
is.
can tell you
That's
from,
true.
I've had it happen a few times.
It's good to get
it's
off.
a good thing. Anyway, we have a caller. Welcome to our show, caller.
Hello, Paul. Hello,
Howdy.
Tim.
Hello, good evening.
Tim and Tim. I just had a question about the bust they've been doing lately. The people up on Rocky Butte, they said that they were card holders, and then they busted like 400 some plants. They took them to jail. 3 days later, they released them, dropped the charges. Have normal or anybody heard anything you at the THC clinic?
What else can you tell us?
No,
about that?
I'm not familiar with these
What else
cases
can you
at
tell
all.
you?
Well, it was like a couple weeks ago. They busted a house in Vancouver, one in Gresham, and one up on Rocky Butte.
Okay.
I was out of town a couple of weeks ago myself, so maybe that's why I didn't hear it. It sounds like they might, especially if they drop the charges, that these people are could be headed into federal court with federal charges, and that's often what they do.
That's the reason I brought the question up, because years ago I went to federal prison for growing marijuana.
Okay.
For the exact thing they had. I went
Sure.
to jail. The state dropped it, but they didn't drop the charges and let me out of jail like they did them. Why is it they? Because they're Asians? Is that why they got out? Or
I don't think that probably had anything to do with it. It's probably just lack of jail resources. Who can say? Maybe they won't charge them in federal court at all. I had something very similar happen in terms of, I guess it was April 2nd, 1991, when the police kicked in my door, and then they let me go the next day and dropped the state charges, and about a year and a half later I got charged in federal court, and I went to court and I pled not guilty and was acquitted by a trial, and that's another, like I said, really good feeling.
Right.
And so there's your case for jury nullification. So you can find out more about that out on the internet. It was published in the FIJA, the Fully Informed Jurors Amendments newsletter back then.
Were you talking
Right,
about that group of people that also had a not a grow operation, but like a storefront out in Aloha or somewhere out in that vicinity? That
I didn't hear nothing about that at the same.
Okay, I didn't know if that was associated with that bust or not. I didn't hear about that either, so I just don't know any details about it to make any comments.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can't answer that either. But thanks for your call.
Yeah, and find out if you find out more, give us a call back and let us know.
Okay, I will. You guys have a good day, and
thank you.
Keep it up, the good work.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. If you have a question for us, you can call us that number there on your screen, 503-288-4448. We'll be taking calls for about another 10 or 15 minutes.
Speaking of kicking doors down, our friend Vivian McPeak, this last Sunday night, while he was with his girlfriend Conti.
And Vivian McPeak, for those of you out there who don't know it, is the main spokesperson and
the executive director,
chief executive director of the Seattle Hemp Fest, the world's largest pro-marijuana protest festival.
Anyway, Vivian and his girlfriend were the victims of a home invasion while they were there. And Vivian, we got pictures with us safely with him on Tuesday night. This happened Sunday night, but he did get pistol whipped, and he does have a black eye. And
fortunately, though, the folks ran away when another person made it out of the house.
Right. So they weren't there long enough to do more than that.
They know who they are. I think hopefully the people will be punished. And then there's a case in Eugene, 2 different cases where there were home invasions about 2 weeks ago. They were found guilty and sentenced to 15 to 18 years.
Very severe sentence for doing
about
that.
About a half dozen people in 2 different home invasions. One of them, they held a couple children at gunpoint.
That's right, they did.
And so it's a pretty frightening ordeal.
It is frightening. I've had friends of mine's children that's happened to.
Yeah.
And they were the people who had the medicine. They were very sick. It was the kid who had to have the medicine.
Right.
He was the one dying.
Someone who works right here in our TV show was out of the country when they broke into his house because his brother had medical marijuana and held his children at gunpoint.
Yes.
You know, someone who works right here on our TV show has been subject of more than one person, I might add, a home invasion.
This is a scary thing that is repeating itself often.
These people think that, these home invaders think that marijuana people aren't going to turn them in, but medical marijuana patients will. So hopefully we'll see more cases like down in Eugene where those people receive lengthy prison sentences. I know in the case of the person who works on our TV show, that fellow received, I think it was an 11 or 12-year sentence and is in, or 14-year sentence, I'm told, and is in prison today. It was probably about 2 or 3 years ago.
So if you're thinking about it, think again.
Yeah. Hopefully our viewers don't think that way. I think we have another caller. Welcome to our show, caller. Hello, caller. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Cool.
Okay,
right on.
Welcome
You're
to the show.
On the air.
I'd like to know if there's been any studies done on secondhand smoke around patients. I have a couple of friends that have lost their job because they were just over the limit at their workplace when they tested them.
And they were living with somebody else at the time, and that other person was the smoker, and they weren't, but they still had it in their system. I've heard of that happening before.
And in fact, the one gal was down for 3 months with a hip replacement, and her husband smoked. She couldn't even move. She had to stay there.
Right.
And when she went back to work, she drove a TriMet bus. They drug tested her, and she got fired.
That's terrible.
That's terrible.
You know, that's one of the things we need to tell our state legislators about, that we need employment protection for medical marijuana patients. And
because
the
Supreme Court here in Oregon,
impairment, not the presence of metabolized byproducts. You know, they test for these metabolites that can stay in your system 30, 60, 90 days, and they don't have anything to do with impairment. And you can pick them up secondhand. Now, there have been a few studies out there, but not many in terms of medical marijuana or marijuana and secondhand marijuana smoke. But I've heard of people, you know, that went to rock concerts and was next to someone who smoked marijuana and then was tested and then fired because of that. So
you have no rights in this state, according to the Supreme Court here in Oregon,
or any other state for that matter.
So
has anybody done a test case?
Yes.
Yeah,
oh, yes.
There have been a few test cases,
yes.
and while the Oregon Court of Appeals ruled they couldn't fire medical marijuana patients or people who weren't impaired, the Oregon Supreme Court's overruled those rulings and said that they can fire them.
So, yeah, it's the way. So we have taken we may revisit it again, but I doubt it soon.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Betcha.
Thank you. If you have a question for us tonight, we have a few more minutes here. You can call us at 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448. We'll be taking your calls right up to the top
Now,
of the
you
hour.
had some interviews. I mean, I know we're on TV a lot just because of our own show, but you actually got some interviews outside of this week. You were on media.
Yeah.
Wares.
I've been doing a lot of different interviews. Got covered, the sentence in the Willamette Week.
That's
you
right.
know, I've been doing this show on the radio, which was originated as a television show, the first marijuana public cable access show. Time for Hemp, produced by Casper Leach. Started down in Arizona and California, and he's moving here to Portland, and we're going to be working together in the future on bringing Time for Hemp back to television. But for the past 2 years, it's been on 25 different radio stations, mainly in the United States, a couple down in New Zealand and Australia, on the American Freedom Radio Network. And so if you want to find out more about Time for Hemp, you can go to hemp.com, time4hemp.com, and you'll find an archive of their shows. I've been co-hosting the show on Thursdays the past few weeks and into the foreseeable future. And next week we'll have Casper Leach on the show, and he'll be bringing along some film clips. He interviewed Willie Nelson back 18 or 19 years ago. He's going to have some of those clips with him, and Timothy Leary and our friend and mentor, Mr. Jack Harrer. So tune in next week to see Casper Leach and Time for Hemp and talk about how we're going to bring him out here to start doing more video production. He's going to start doing his live radio show 5 days a week out of Portland here, and Portland becomes the center of marijuana video production in the United States, and maybe we'll be putting together a marijuana video channel at some point here in the near future.
I know.
So we'll see how that goes.
Well, I had some good fortune this week, too.
Yeah, you did. You got mentioned by the Producers Guild in New York City. The Producers Guild produce videos and movies. And you want to tell our audience about that?
Well, it's still news to me, so I'm sorting it out. But I was involved with a film called The Normal Life. It was produced by Don Ross out of Washington, D.C. And they asked me to write the music for it, and then I helped to set up some of the interviews, and they interviewed me and Vivian and a whole bunch of other folks who were obviously very active and involved in the movement across the country. A lot of doctors and professionals and activists and
so it's
patients.
called The Normal Life?
It's called The Normal Life.
I got an email from Rod Pittman, the primary producer.
Yeah.
And Doug Ross, he's working with Doug Ross on that. And it was featured in their rough cut screening this week and picked up
two films, and ours was one of those featured.
And this film, A Normal Life, and the picture that they used was you on the Seattle Hemp Fest stage with our big banner behind you.
I know, yeah, THCF got some, we got
free
some
ads there, just like this one behind us.
Just like this one,
only bigger.
And but then beyond that, the executive committee decided to pick up the film. And to promote it and to be evangelistic about it and help share it with the world. So I'm very excited. I don't even know what that means yet. It seems kind of vague.
We'll see.
But if the executive committee wants to help us get the film out and get the word out, because it is a good film. I have seen it. One of the few people who have, other than the Directors Guild now. So I'm really pleased about how it turned out, and the people they have in it are astounding folks. So anyway, that was
well, congratulations
a piece of good news.
Congratulations to Rod Pittman and Doug Ross, who are working on that.
Yeah, I think they made a good choice in choosing their musical director for the film.
Of course you would think that.
I do.
I'm not going to disagree with that.
But I was truly astounded at the number of interviews they did coast to coast, the number of people who are truly active, who have meaningful interaction with their society and the people around them. It's really important. This movement affects so many people from coast to coast, and I'm just happy to be a part of it. I'm glad to still be out there doing it and being active. It's a good thing.
So if you are out there and you or a loved one are looking for help getting a medical marijuana permit, then we have doctors we can refer you to all across the country. If you're interested in that, give us a call. Around the United States, you can call us toll free at 1-800-723-0188. That's 1-800-723-0188. If you're here in the Portland area, you can call us locally at 503-235-4606. That's 503-235-4606. And we will be able to assist you. We have doctors everywhere from Rhode Island out to the middle of the Pacific Ocean in Hawaii, many of them throughout the state of California and all the other medical marijuana states who can help you. So give us a call if you're interested in that. And so we are now going to switch over to our musical mode and play some music and show you some pictures. So tune in next week. We'll have Casper Leach on the show, and every Friday night here at 8 o'clock on Ustream.tv or on the internet. Oh, you know what? We're going to take a call first. We have another caller. Welcome to our show, caller. Hello, caller. Oh, they hung up. Maybe they thought we were going to the music. So.
I'm here.
Oh, there you are.
Hey, so I had a question. What you thought about this Stormy Ray bill going through or being talked about?
It's I think it's going to motivate activists to contact the legislature, and that's going to be a good thing. I know talking with Representative Schaffler, who's been working on that, he's not married to a lot of the bills, but he basically has said something's going to go through the legislature regulating dispensaries this year, and so we need to be proactive and get involved in that. And I think law enforcement would be happy with the Stormy Ray bill. There's this proposal that's been introduced to give law enforcement money from taxes on the sales of medical marijuana so they can inspect and enforce laws to regulate those medical marijuana dispensaries. And so my thoughts on it are that Stormy Ray went a little too far, didn't vet it with anyone else. She works too closely with law enforcement. Of course, they want to restrict it more and more. They don't want to lose that money in their pocket. They don't want to lose that job. One thing you got to know is if a law has an impact on someone's pocketbook, then you can see that they will come in the side that keeps money in their pocket.
Yep, follow the money, see what's going on.
Yep, that's the long rule here. I
Well,
guess that's what
hear.
they told Woodward and Bernstein when they were looking at Watergate. Follow the money.
Nice. Well, thanks, guys. Have a good night.
All right, thank you. Thank you. We are wrapping up. That'll be our last call for tonight. We're going to jump over, like I said a moment ago, and Tim Plate is going to play us some music. So tune in next week. We'll be here working to completely legalize marijuana. For more information about our work, go to that website, www.hemp.org, hemp.org. And you can find out more about medical marijuana and our work to legalize marijuana with our Oregon Cannabis Tax Act, the real hemp and cannabis initiative that we're trying to put on the ballot for 2012. I want to thank you all for watching. Tune in next week and help us restore hemp. Good night.
See you next week, folks. And we are off the air.